And welcome to another episode of the Fearlessly Curious podcast. And with me again today is Lilian
Hello.
Gan. Hi, Lilian.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks for
Uh,
having me here.
I'm so happy to, sometimes it gets very lonely doing my solo podcast. So I'm really happy to have you with me. We can have a bit of a banter. We can explore
Mhm.
different ways of seeing the world and life, one from both from a creative aspect and from an aspect that perhaps has some scientific backing, of course, with your experience and your expertise as a medical doctor, clinical doctor, and a researcher, but now also as a content creator, copywriter. Every episode is going to make for some rich discussion and maybe even debate. So for those of you who don't know Lilian, I encourage you to listen to an earlier podcast where I introduce her. Today, Lilian is going to put me in the hot seat. You got some questions for me on productivity, am I right?
Yes,
Okay.
and a bit of surprise questions as
Oh,
well.
oh no. Why do I do this to myself?
It's okay. You can just answer based on your gut feeling.
Okay.
Okay. So the first question. Okay, You're an artist. Okay, you draw, you sing, you make music, and you coach. You do social media content creation as well. And I always see you so active on the social media platforms. So how do you find the time and energy to be such a productive entrepreneur?
Oof.
What's your hack?
Wow. Thanks for sort of listing out all those things that I do. I don't see myself that way. And now that you've described it like that, I'm like, wow, I do a lot of things. So if I could ask you just to ask the question again, the first part of the question, which is how do I do so much?
Mhm. Yeah, you get to do so many things in a day, like you post multiple posts on social media every single day.
Yeah.
And what is your productivity hack?
My productivity hack is
Yes.
first of all, living and knowing that I am a creative. Okay. I know that might seem like, what do you mean by that? But that means that I'm constantly in creation mode. So for a lot of people, they think, oh, okay, I'm going to put this time aside to create, to produce, right? Because they have a belief that they're not naturally creative or naturally productive. Whereas I am in the mindset that we are all creators. We are all creative because we are creation itself. Literally, two people came together and they made us. So we're always creating. We could do the same. So even the most mundane moments, and there are moments that you think are mundane, is content. And if you can go beyond your limited belief of this is a boring moment, there's always wisdom to be tapped in. It's like sitting quietly on a chair. We can sit there and go, oh, I'm bored. But if I can go beyond the mundaneness of boredom, that becomes a meditation. And then maybe I might start feeling the stiffness in my shoulder that I'd been powering through, right? Or maybe I might start to notice the tenderness of my heart, that maybe there's some emotion there that I hadn't been taking care of, right? Or maybe I might notice as I'm sitting there and looking, I might notice the smoothness of my skin and how beautiful my skin is. Or maybe in that moment, I might notice the resilience of my body. And in that moment, I get to give myself gratitude for the incredible body that I have and how it helps me move through life every day. So that's all content I've just given you right there that you have and everybody has if they simply allow themselves to be present in the moment and to connect with the moment. So the productivity hack is knowing that you're always producing. It's just whether or not you can tap in and take a picture, frame that moment in words, in a video, in a photograph. That's my answer. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's simply beautiful the way you incorporate all the little details, things that are so mundane, you make it into something meaningful, something exciting. That's just beautiful.
Thanks, Lillian. I'm going to be transparent though.
Mhm.
You people see me posting multiple times a day. And I do struggle.
Mhm.
Interestingly, I do struggle with production and I do struggle with content creation on a level where I actually can't stop. So I have content that's scheduled and I have like 170 reels in my drafts. I'm not kidding. It's taking up loads of space on my phone, about 17 gig worth of memory on my phone. It's all sitting there. And I'm like, when do I post it? Some are scheduled, some are still in drafts because the video has been made, but the captions haven't been written. Right. And then I've got literally hundreds of hours of content in all the classes that I've taught and coached. And then I've got podcast episodes, right, that are up on YouTube, but that I want to break down into 30-second, 60-second clips to put on the various platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn. So I have a massive library of content that still isn't even published yet. And I don't know what to do with it. And I feel like every day I'm chasing, trying to keep up with it to have it ready to post. So you see how everybody faces struggles. You've got one end, someone who thinks, I've got no content ideas.
Mhm.
And the minute, I'm just going to give you as a warning, as a heads up, the minute you tap into that infinite well of information that you are, by knowing that there is no such thing as the mundane, you might end up where I am, which is like, okay, now we've got all this content.
But you can feature every single details.
Yeah.
They all have the potential to be good contents.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I think there's a pressure out there because people are saying, don't just put out loads of content. It's all about quality. But I think quality is quite subjective. What do you think?
Yes, I think quality is in the eye of beholders as well, and also whether the content brings them value. If they perceive the content to be beneficial to them, they would probably stop by and spend more time reading that content. Value as in like whether it's entertainment value or whether it's knowledge value or whether it's engagement value. So I suppose it's whether whether you are off, whether you have similar frequencies.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how people perceive if your value and their value systems align.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
the world has 80 billion people. Like we won't expect every single person to have the same value as us. So it's okay if it doesn't resonate with every single person on the social media.
Yeah. And I think you've just made such an important point there because, there's also the algorithm and there's also trends, right? That's why people say leverage on the trends, because if it's something is trending and you ride on that wave and you add your flavor to it, you're increasing your chance of being seen.
Exactly.
But this is like tapping into engagement, into quantity. We want to be seen by as many people as possible. So this is where I fall into that trap. So I'm chasing that. I want increased visibility, not for vanity metrics, but because my mission is to create impact. I would like to support as many people as possible. However, I'm navigating burnout too, right? Because of that chase. I have to keep reminding myself every day that if one person is impacted by my message, so this goes to you as a content creator, and this goes to everybody out there in whatever you're doing. If your word, your presence, your act impacts one person, that is enough. That is more than enough. Because you're going to change that person's frequency. You're going to change their life at some level. And that transformation that you influence, they are then going to bring forward to another person, or maybe 5 people, or maybe 10 people. And those 10 people will then bring it forward to another. So try not to get caught up. I'm now talking to myself, Melissa, try not to get caught up in the metrics of numbers, because it isn't just about that. And especially if you are a visionary, and many visionaries out there don't see themselves as visionaries. And I'm speaking to the misfits and the introverts out there, right? We're a bit shy, deemed as shy. We're selective about who we share our ideas and thoughts with. And maybe we've experienced a lot of rejection and maybe ridicule and even shaming because our ideas are so radical, right? If your ideas are radical and you don't fit in, it's because you're a visionary. You're here to bring forward a new idea. And so it's quite possible that as you begin, that your metrics are going to be low because nobody's going to get you. They're going to think, what? That thought is so out there. So it's possible that you'll start with small numbers. But just start because everybody starts with a small number.
Yep.
I'm going to stop because I could talk all day about this.
All right. Will you take another question? Because you touched upon burnout earlier on.
Yeah.
And I know it's something close to heart. And I mean, like, this is, I don't know. I mean, for different people, sometimes when you experience burnout, like you can kind of see it coming.
Yeah.
Like, do you see patterns of burnout? Like maybe you have experienced burnout like twice or 3 times or 5 times or 10 times. Like, do you see a pattern? Like every time it's coming on, like is there a particular feel, or is there a particular reason, or just something that the trend that you can observe? And is there, and if you do, how do you put a stop before it goes into the full-blown burnout?
That's a fantastic question. I'm not sure I'm the ideal person to ask in terms of how to stop it. So I've experienced burnout twice in my life, and I'm still navigating out of the second burnout. The first was nearly 7 years ago. Yeah, nearly 7 years ago. And that was at the end of, having navigated decades of my life living unhealthily, putting my health at risk, right? Burning the candle at both ends, living hard and fast, with alcoholism and with drug abuse, and just being in toxic relationships and having very low self-esteem, and navigating being a caregiver to my father who was ill, and then my soul partner 2 years later. So a lot of life was just being life, and I was not coping well with it. In fact, I was leaning into very unhealthy habits until literally I just hit a flat line, so to speak. Not the best analogy, but I would have flatlined if I didn't stop, if I didn't burn out. I think I was paving my way to the end of my life, very, very honestly speaking. So I have 2 different beliefs around burnout. I think burnout is important, and it's a precursor to really extreme health compromises. So it's there to help us. It's there as a warning sign. And I'm not sure burnout is something that can always be prevented. Sometimes I think it's needed. And I am being general here. So for me, my pattern is, because I'm very productive, and that comes forth from the last topic. I'm super hyper focused, right? So I have a goal, I know what I need to do, and I'll just produce. And then I'll have a pattern of shutting out everything else in my life. And that can begin with not eating. So I can sit down on my computer and make content and write and do my admin. So for reference, I'm also a solo entrepreneur. So I do everything myself pretty much, from writing to editing to designing graphics to building websites to literally everything. And you can do that when you're starting, but there comes a point in your life in business as an entrepreneur where you just, it's not sustainable. And because I was hyper-focused on producing, I was stopping eating. I would stop exercising. I didn't have much of a social life. And all those other elements of life that are good for you, I was cutting out. And so I was becoming addicted, because then my self-worth and value was being measured against my productivity. So the idea of stopping for lunch or going out to meet friends to me was like, I can't do that. I'm not being productive. I can't afford that time out of not working, even though I just worked 15 hours, right? So there was a level of addiction there. And I have addictive habits. So I did notice this starting to come through last year when my burnout was starting. And I kept saying to myself, this is a bit of an addiction, Melissa. You're a bit addicted to your productivity. You're a bit addicted to learning. You're addicted to implementing. It's not good. And I would talk to myself, it's not good you're missing your meal. So I would try to schedule, lunch meetings or meeting up with my friends. But I would arrive late, or I would cancel, or find a reason not to show up. But the voice was still there. The voice got louder. If you don't change, you're going to burn out. And I think I said that for about 2 months. And I just kept ignoring it. And then my chronic pain started. So these are all different ways that the mind and the body were indicating to me that I needed to pay attention. But I was so addicted. That's the only word I could use. And I would say to myself, oh my God, you're so addicted. You need to stop. And the more I said, you need to stop, the less ability I had to stop. And I watched myself spiral. I kept hearing that same voice, you're going to burn out, you're going to burn out. And it was always a little bit more, one more day, 1 more hour, half an hour more. Okay, I know I said I'd stop then, but I'll do it a bit more. In retrospect, as you ask me that question, I don't think there was any other way I could have come out of that. Because I had an awareness. I was fully aware, but I was pushing it. And maybe my pattern is to push it. And when I look at my human design, and maybe we can talk about that another session, right? My human design is a blueprint of some of the ways that patterns that I live. It's very clear to me that I was caught in an old way of being, but at the same time, I believe that if I can integrate that this is a way that I function to help me become more aware of what is healthy, then the next time that this happens, see how I'm speaking? It's not that I'm calling it to happen. I am very aware that this is a pattern of mine to live, to help me live more healthily. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? It's like we don't know what we don't know. But I'm getting to know so the very question you're asking me, how do I circumvent this? How do I prevent this from happening? Is for me to go through it, that neuroplasticity, go through it maybe a few more times, maybe only 1 more time, so that I get clearer on what those patterns are approaching burnout, so that I can move from it, move away from it, divert from it. That was a really long way of answering that question.
I think that was intense.
Yeah. Burnout is intense, because that
yes,
see, I just embodied what it is. It's like you just can't stop.
Yes.
Have you burnt out before?
Yes. And it comes in patterns, and it's not really a one-off episode. I would say it's like it's a process which builds up over months or probably years, and then it takes a long time to slowly go away as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, like, from my personal experience, like, it could be there, it could linger on for like months and up to a year before it's like fully gone. It's not fully gone, it's still there at a baseline. You somewhat know it, but you just have to live harmoniously with it. It's like, okay, I know there's this thing at the background, but I still have to function. So you just find a way to navigate around it.
I love that you said
that. I don't know if that's the same with you, but I think everyone has their way of dealing with burnout, and I think everyone goes through burnout at least once in their lifetime, and the triggers could be different. It could be different triggers, could be different events. Some events we can control, some events we can't control, and for those events that we can't control. Somehow we just have to come up with better coping mechanisms, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel very seen with what you just shared there, that
Yep.
it can take up to a year, and sometimes it never goes away.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just about living with that low level potential. That is so true for me. And I think that what you just said there is a golden nugget for other people who are listening, that how different might our lives be, and our relationship with burnout, how different might that be if we didn't reject it, if we didn't make it something that is bad, but something that is there as a precursor warning to what could be devastating for our health. Then because we don't, so that way we kind of befriend it, and so we can honor it there when it's a low level. And maybe I might respect it more if I also felt about it that way, if I made it my friend, and it's always there. Oh, just as this gentle reminder, not a nag, not something to fear, but something that is part of my team taking care of me. Ooh, you just gave me a huge reframe right there. Thank you for that.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
refining lifestyle.
Thank you so much for sharing your story as well. And I think music plays a big role in helping us to navigate out of burnout. Because, like, okay, say you went for a holiday, and during the holiday you had a good time. You listened to very nice tracks, very nice playlists, and somehow the sounds and the feelings, the experience, they kind of gel together. So when you're having this burnout and you go back and revisit these happy tunes, happy music, it kind of brings back the happiness and it helps tone down the burnout. I mean, I have tried that on my own, using your intuitive music programming style, and I think it works pretty well. So I think that's the power of music in helping us navigate burnout as well.
Yeah, I won't disagree with you. Because I do feel that music is a time capsule, right? So we'll listen to a song and it can take us back in time. We literally time travel, into that moment when you were 15, or, you were 21, or you were at a party, or you were watching a sunrise, or maybe you were crying your eyeballs out, right? But within the moment that you were crying, it was a revelation that you were going through. And that song can take you back to those moments and remind you of what life can be beyond your burnout. It is powerful. And I do think it's undervalued. Don't you think music is very undervalued?
Yes.
As a resource.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, before the times where, you have a lot of scientific paper proving the usefulness of music. Like, I mean, different civilizations, ancient civilizations, they have been using music for as long as mankind exists, and it's been there for thousands of years. And I think it has a purpose. It's just not being communicated in black and white doesn't mean that it doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that I'd love to sort of segue and let our listeners know that Lilian is a contributor on my blog now, and she every month is going to be writing a piece on music and on well-being and how it's related, and basically whatever she feels called to. So head on over to the blog, because there's an intro piece that Lilian has written about music that you need to check out, and also subscribe to it, because that way you get it first drop every time it drops. And Lilian, I want to say thank you to you for choosing to contributing to the blog and being part of the team. You are such an asset, not just to me, but to the community and to everybody who now listens to the Fearlessly Curious podcast. Did you have any more questions for me, or is there anything else you'd like to share on burnout and productivity?
I think we are okay.
Yeah. Are you being shy? Are you being an introvert now? Putting you on the spot.
I am an introvert, and I take a very long time to ponder about things that I want to ask and things that I want to share. if that thing comes up recurrently on my mind and I have to take it up, and when I share it out, it usually creates an impact. So if it's just off the hook, it's very hard for it to be something impactful. I mean, in terms of from my experience.
Sure.
So for now, I think I don't have any further questions.
Okay.
But thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to ask all these curious questions and going deep to ask you about things that are very intense and possibly stirring up some emotions. And I mean, lives like that, sometimes we can have an impromptu conversation and it just draws us to very intense stuff and just brings us to deep thoughts about life itself.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of life. And
It
that's the
is.
beauty of having open communication.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a question for you to close with, if you're open to it.
Yeah, sure. I'll try my best to answer.
Okay. Well, it kind of circles back to how we started this. So you were asking for a productivity tip, because I create so much. So my question to you would be, what is your biggest struggle with productivity? Or what is your belief? What do you believe is your struggle? Right? 'Cause it tends to be a belief.
Okay. My belief is I have limited energy. I have limited focus. So I take it like I have energy packs within a day. So like if I were to invest my energy on doing one activity, and I usually will put my 100% or 120% into that. And after I complete that task, I usually will tell myself that, oh, I can't take on anymore. That's enough. That's enough for today. That's a wrap. No more additional stuff. So I think that's why my productivity is not that great at the moment. So I'm just wondering if there is a system where I can devise to be more productive, because I think the system is very important. If we have a system in place, sometimes when you can't think of a system, you just follow the system and you just do according to it, and you will still manage to hit a basic level of productivity.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's a great question. And there's a couple of things for me to address here. First of all, we remember that we're all different and we're all built differently, right? So you have such clarity on your level of energy. You just said, I have energy packs, and you're hyper-focused on the energy that you put to whatever task you're doing. Do you get it completed?
Yes, usually. Yeah.
Okay. So that is a win. There is actually nothing to fix at all in the way that you're being. What is falling short for you is that you're comparing yourself to others. You are not like others. Now, if I can lean into human design, because that's another tool that I use and it brings such clarity. In the human design system, your profile type is a projector. Now, projectors do not basically, projectors have a limited energy source. So you just said to me, I only have a certain amount of energy a day. That is aligned to your profile type in human design. So honor it. If you try and push beyond that, which is in a way what you're asking, you're saying, how do I produce more? You're going to be out of alignment and you will burn out. Not only will you burn out, but it's going to express its ways in a whole other different ways. So how you are producing right now is in alignment because you're honoring the level of energy that you have. Now, my profile in human design is a generator. Just listen to that word. I'm here to generate.
It's energy producing.
Yeah. I basically bring life force wherever I go. I am life force and I'm here to generate. In humanity, in human design system terms, I am a builder. I'm here to build, right? You are a projector. You're not here to build. Actually, you're more of a guide. You're a guide for people. So for you to just simply know that whatever you put your focused energy on is a beacon. That's you showing up as you, and the right people and the right opportunities will come to you, right? So the only product, so first of all, acknowledge, accept and honor that where you are and how you're producing is already in alignment to the best of your expression. Okay. Now, whatever frustrations you have about productivity, what I can suggest to you is that maybe you can assign, because you talked about a system. So like I like to time block. I don't always listen to it. You could day block. So Mondays could be your day for admin. You use your energy pack on Mondays for one specific task. Maybe, are you already doing that?
Yes, I'm already doing that. And it helps. It helps.
Then you're all set. You're all set. And maybe your perception of increased productivity could be like what you're doing right now, which is collaborating with someone with an energy force. So I'm bringing the energy, and you'll let me know after this episode or tomorrow whether you felt exhausted after this session, or whether it was like, oh, I just did this and actually I don't feel exhausted. Okay, so I know that on your day today, you were like, I'm just focused on one thing, and it's the podcast, right?
Yes.
So I wait for your feedback tomorrow, right? Let's see if you can if you end up doing something else today, and you have the capacity to, because if you do, then there's your proof that one way to increase your productivity per se is to collaborate with someone who can bring energy, an energy pack with them to share with you. Okay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, get to talk about human design. All right. So all the questions for today?
I think so.
Okay. Productivity 101 and with human design. Thank you so much, Lilian,
Thank you, Melissa.
for putting me in the hot seat. You're welcome. All right, that's all for this week on the Fearlessly Curious podcast. If you have any questions for Lilian, or any questions that you want Lilian to ask me in future episodes, or any questions for me to ask Lilian in future episodes, any more questions about productivity or about human design, get into DMs on Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube Shorts or wherever it is that you're seeing this content, in TikTok. And we will do our level best to address it in future podcasts. But until next time, stay fearlessly curious. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.